wish I was special. You're so very special. And I'm a creep.
Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to my latest movie review. I am so sorry, it's been such a long time. I've been mad busy, a lot of personal life stuff. So hard to do reviews now, but I am here today to review a film I've been looking forward to for quite a while, and it should have been on my most anticipated list. This is my review of the long-awaited Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3, written and directed by James Gunn, who wrote and directed the first two movies, and he is the guy that is now going to change the DC universe in film. Yeah, after his work on The Suicide Squad, he has now been hired to reboot the DC universe. So this is his final farewell to the characters that he took on with the Marvel, and they are Guardians of the Galaxy. So, the plot of this film is as follows. Still reeling from the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own. A mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. Now, to give you some background context, I really like the Guardians of the Galaxy as characters. I think they're awesome, and I think they're super underrated, considering the fact that we didn't know a lot about them before they were established. And that first movie was such a shock, it was shockingly good, that, you know, I was like, wow, I love these characters, and I would gladly see them do more. And the second one came out in 2017, about 3 years later, and I enjoyed it. It was still good. Not quite as good as the first one, but I was really excited to see the third one. And of course, these films are known for having a very, well, retro soundtrack. It's kind of a plot point, but it's also, you know, an excuse to have some really awesome music. So, we finally got Volume 3. And how is it? It's surprising. Very surprising in many, many aspects. I think the most surprising aspect is the tone of it. I did not expect this movie to be so dark. It's really quite harrowing to watch some of the content that is in this film. Some of the plot revolves around animal cruelty, so there are some harrowing and sensitive scenes in this film. And in some ways, it doesn't feel quite like Guardians of the Galaxy because of that. The first two movies were more fun. I mean, they certainly had their emotional beats, don't get me wrong. But this one is very balls to the wall, serious, dark, emotional. It's definitely got more pathos in it compared to the first two. Again, not to exclude the first two, you know, and their pathos. Put it this way, a lot of the film revolves around Rocket, the raccoon, and his backstory of how he was genetically engineered, and the friendships he made during his time in captivity of the Great Evolutionary, and the reasons why Rocket was experimented on, and the Great Evolutionary's motive behind why he's doing this to Rocket and the animals is pretty powerful. There's definitely a powerful commentary on animal cruelty here, and I thought that was a very interesting thing for Marvel to do. They've not really done that before, and I think fans of the first two will definitely resonate with this, and if you love Rocket, then this is definitely going to impress you, this film. No question. For me, this is definitely a breath of fresh air. It's definitely what Marvel needed. The last few films have not been, let's say, they've not been the most popular among the Marvel canon. And I think it feels much less formulaic than it did. For me, this is the best Marvel movie since No Way Home. It's the best Marvel film in 2 years. And I think that's a real testament to James Gunn and his vision. He clearly cares about these characters. He clearly cares about the story he's telling, and you care about them as a group, and they're such a lovable group of characters, and they all have their own emotional payoffs. That's what I appreciate about this film. I shan't reveal the spoilers, obviously, but I'll say that you will be impressed at the way things end, and it will surprise you the way things end, because I expected the film to go in some predictable directions, but it didn't. And that's what I really love about the third film, is that it's unpredictable, and I think that is what sets it apart from certain other Marvel movies which are so formulaic. So for me, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was an absolute treat. It was a breath of fresh air, it was visually stunning like the first two, it was action-packed as well, great fun to watch. I had a blast with it. I did not expect it to be as emotional as it was. For me, there were some drawbacks. The only drawback for me being the length. I think it was a little bit too long at 2.5 hours. It did feel like the first act was a little bit baggy in places. When there's this mission where they're in spacesuits and they have to go to this, I think it's Auger Corp. I'm not entirely sure if that's the correct name, but they have to go to that place, and that sequence goes on for a good 20 minutes, and it gets a little meandering, but that's not too bad. Also, the soundtrack. These movies are known for having a great soundtrack, and Gunn selects the music for the film. And I think that the music for this film is the weakest of the 3 soundtracks. However, there are some really good tracks in there, but they don't use the music as much. And I feel like that was the tension with this film. They were trying to find ways to use the music, but because the film goes in such a serious, dark direction, it was kind of hard for them to really use the music and use it in a way that was kind of fun. I mean, they do use it, and it works, but you just think to yourself, yeah, you can tell they've struggled. They don't use the music as much. They don't rely on it as much because of the tonal shift. And rightly so, in my opinion. I think that that's a testament. But at the same time, the tracks are not as memorable as the previous 2 films, shall we say. I think the High Evolutionary is the best Marvel villain since Thanos. He is so good. You will clearly hate this guy. It's, obvious why you will hate this guy. And his motivations are really interesting. He doesn't want to conquer the world. He's not this evil villain who is one-dimensional, who just wants to take over the world. That would be dull. That would be boring. They go deeper than that. He wants to improve the world, and he wants to better it in a similar sense to Thanos. But obviously, Thanos wanted to wipe out half of the universe. This guy wants to, experiment on animals, and he wants to enhance them. And obviously, on paper, that sounds feasible, but when you think about it, yeah, it's pretty cruel what he does. I won't go into further details, but with Rocket and his friends, it's pretty cruel, and you will probably, your heartstrings will be tugged. Let's just say that. And as the film goes on, he certainly becomes a lot more cruel and a lot more corrupt. He's played by Chukwudi Iwuji. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He is a fantastic villain. I really like him, and I think that he works very well for the film. And in a way, this is Rocket's film, and I feel like him and Rocket are real personal adversaries. There's definitely a few good confrontations between them. As for the rest of the cast, Chris Pratt is back as Peter Quill. He's very good in this one. I do appreciate his emotional story as well, how he's trying to get over Gamora, and the fact that Gamora died in Infinity War, and he still hasn't really found closure, so he's looking to find closure in this film. Bradley Cooper definitely steals the show as Rocket, although he doesn't have that much dialogue. Not a lot, but he is a standout for sure. Klementiff as Mantis is very good. Dave Bautista as Drax, as usual, hilarious. Karen Gillan as Nebula. This is definitely Karen Gillan's best performance in the MCU. She has been given a lot more to do. She takes on a bit more of a leadership role, and she's got more of a sassy personality. What can you say? She's lightened up a bit, and she's more fun, but she's also more caring. She's more emotional. She cares more about the Guardians now than she ever did. So, yeah, and I think she has come to really hate Thanos as well for what has happened to her, obviously. And I think she resonates with Rocket's story because she too was kind of, well, let's just say modified in a certain context. So I like that angle, and I think, Karen Gillan is really good. And as for Vin Diesel as Groot, well, he's been paid millions and millions of dollars just to say 3 words. But he does it really well. What can you say? James Gunn throws lots of colour, visual spectacle on the screen. The colour palette of these films I love, and I love the detail, the world building. It's so cool. All the aliens look really, really cool. The finale is enthralling. It really is. It's a pretty epic final battle. And again, the heartstrings will be tugged, and there's a real, emotive pull to this film. There's a real pathos to it, which I really appreciate, and I think Marvel need to keep doing this because it's only going to benefit their films, and I think this is one of those occasions. The comedy is good as well. I don't think it's the funniest of the 3, certainly not, but they do try to have some comedy, and some of it works, some of it doesn't, but that's up to you. That's up to your preference. That was just my opinion. I laughed more during the first 2 films, let's just say that. I think the first one is the funniest, personally. As for Will Poulter as Adam Warlock, there was a lot of hype surrounding this character for some reason. I don't know much about the character, to be honest, but I thought Will Poulter did a good job. He's kind of he's there, he's just kind of in the film. that he sort of tags along. He's kind of on a mission for the Sovereign and for the High Evolutionary, and then his loyalties may or may not change, and his journey throughout the film is interesting, although they do kind of turn him into a joke in certain scenes. But I think Will Poulter pulled it off pretty well. His humour in the film is quite dry, but it kind of works, so I give him credit for trying that. Obviously, the CGI and visual effects work really well for the film, and the ending is bittersweet. Very bittersweet. It's certain doors may be left open, but another door may be closed. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to ruin anything, but the post-credit scenes will basically confirm to you the future of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, we know that this is the final film of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but maybe individual characters, it will hint towards futures for individual characters, but I'll let you watch the movie to find out. So overall, I think James Gunn did a fantastic job with this film, and I think it's really good. It's not perfect. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece. I don't know whether it's the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I may have to update my MCU ranking to give you a proper assessment on that. However, I do believe it's better than the second one, and I believe it's a really different, very interesting film that, even if a bit long-winded, still manages to, retain the heart and the thrills with the action, and also the story. It tells a really good story, really compelling story, with a fantastic villain, and a really great commentary on animal cruelty. Really, honestly, it says a lot about that. So I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. I thought it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. So that's great. Marvel need to definitely push for this quality most of the time. So with that being said, I'm going to rate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a very strong 9 out of 10.
And wish I was special. You're so very special. And I'm a creep.
So, that's my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. What do you think? Please comment down below, let me know what you think of the film. Please hit the like and subscribe button for more content to come in the future. And until next time, I'm Pajak's Perspective. See ya. Bye for now.